Occurred, the 2nd of November 2010, 1420. Location: Indianapolis, Indiana. Shape: cylinder. Duration: 60 secs. Silver cylinder. Object in sky 3 feet. LX2 FTH. White circle moved to cover whole object then disappeared. I would like to report a UFO that I saw November 2nd, 2010. It was in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was at the corner of Southeastern Avenue and Arlington Avenue. It was in the SW sky. It looked to be about 3 feet long and about 2 feet high. It was silver in color, and it only stayed for less than a minute. The silver was the shade of a trash can. As I was watching this object, it looked like a white circle rose from the bottom left and moved to the top right. Once it finished, it disappeared. There were no blimps in the vicinity. It just hung in the air, and then the circle of white moved to encompass the object. It appeared to be only one. The sky was clear with some white clouds higher up than the object. The address was deleted. Southeastern Avenue.
Occurred, the 8th of November 2010, 1825. Location: Indianapolis, Indiana. Shape: disc. Duration: 3 minutes. Characteristics: there were lights on the object. Saucer seen on W. Michigan Street and Porto Alegre. I'm a college student in Indianapolis, Indiana. It was around 6:26 p.m. on the 7th of November 2010 when I was standing on the sidewalk of W. Michigan Street that lead back to campus apartment housing at IUPUI, my college. We usually have a lot of airplanes and helicopters around here, and at first I thought it was an airplane until I realized that it was flying way too low. But then I realized that it must have been a helicopter. I couldn't have been more wrong, I realized, as I looked up and saw a circular object flying right up above me, moving straight in the direction I was facing. It was huge, and if a full moon were out, I would have to say that from my perspective, I would have to say that maybe 15 to 17 full moons would be equal to the size of it. I'd like to give a better comparison, but I was in a state of shock. I did spend what felt like a long time gazing at it, although in actuality, only about 2 minutes had passed. The sky was clear, but being in the city, it appears as pitch black because of the city lights. It was either flying really low, or it was extremely huge. I feel stupid for not thinking about getting a picture, but I was in total shock, as I don't really believe in UFOs, or at least didn't until now, and even now I'm still skeptical. I did, however, try my best to draw a picture afterwards, even though I'm not good at drawing. The UFO had red lights on it. If I remember correctly, I'd say about 3 of 4 of them, and I believe that red light was coming from the center as well. Since I was looking up at it, all I could see was what it looked like directly underneath. It looked like the stereotypical UFO, or flying saucer, in most aspects. Besides being a perfect circle, it looked like what a mushroom looks like from underneath, whereas you can see the edges of what might be a domed top from below, and striations leading towards the center. Most of the red lights were towards THE exterior, with the exception of the center, where the stem of a mushroom would be. Here was where more red light emitted. 2 things struck me as odd that distinguished this when compared to the stereotypical portrayal. For one thing, the front of the ship had a silver section, which reminded me of a bird shape since the shape had 3 corners. Secondly, I think that there may have been a protrusion at the base of it, which logically made me think that maybe somebody was playing a prank and it was actually some type of blimp because of how it glided forward, but it seemed much too big to logically call it this. There was no logical explanation for what happened. I went back to the apartment building and called my grandpa to tell him what I saw because I felt like I needed to tell someone that wouldn't make fun of me. I made this call at 6:34 p.m. and stepped through the back door of the apartment complex. I was partway into the conversation when I saw the object again flying over the apartment building, even though I thought it had already passed. At this point, a passerby was walking down the sidewalk and saw me looking in shock up at the sky. He then saw the object too and said that it sure is a wide airplane. He didn't see it until it was going off into the distance. I said that was definitely no airplane. This second encounter lasted until 6:37 p.m., so it was 3 minutes long. This second encounter took place on Porto Alegre Street, and again the object continued moving in the same direction until it got past the river, where it ascended up and disappeared into the sky. A girl walking a ways behind me during the first incident didn't bother looking up because she thought it was a helicopter and was busy texting, and was shocked when I told her what I saw. I was kind of angry that she hadn't looked up and I was the only one that saw this the first time. But I'm extremely glad that someone else saw it the second time to prove that I wasn't the only person that saw it. By the way, the IUPUI campus apartments are near the Ronald McDonald House, which is not far from the hospital. This area is extremely easy to find on Google Maps. However, for some reason it doesn't show Porto Alegre, but the street that the UFO went across to get to the river is White River Parkway E Drive.
Occurred, the 9th of June 2011, 21:30 location, Indianapolis, Indiana. Shape, oval duration, 10 minutes. Characteristics. There were lights on the object, acorn-shaped object with light on bottom on the 9th of June 11, at 9:30 p.m., near east side of Indianapolis. I was outside looking toward the western sky. I observed a dark acorn-shaped object moving west to east slowly. It had a large white light on the bottom that seemed to swivel or rotate. I heard no sound. I watched it move across the sky for approximately 10 minutes before I decided to go inside my workplace and get a coworker to see it. When I went back outside, approximately 5 minutes, it was gone. I feel this object was probably explainable, but interesting.
Occurred, June 14, 2011, 010 location, Indianapolis, Indiana. Shape, unknown duration, 1 minute. Characteristics. There were lights on the object, 5 to 6 amber-colored lights flying in formation. While driving home from work, from Bloomington to Indianapolis, I noticed 5 to 6 individual amber-colored lights in formation. As they passed my car, the formation was maintained, but it wasn't a formation that is consistent to the military as it was very loose and not in line. The route I take from work is State Route 37, northbound. Normally on my return trip home there are aircraft on the left, west, side of the road flying the approach pattern into the Indianapolis International Airport, kind. As a private pilot, I am very aware of the orientation of the lights on aircraft. This was unlike anything I have ever seen. Before the sighting, I noticed what appeared to be a shooting star going to the right, or east side, of the road. Whether this has any connection to the sighting or not is unclear. After driving for about 2 to 4 minutes, I noticed the lights through the trees on the same side of the road as the shooting star. Thinking that it looked rather odd, I continued looking in the direction until I passed by a field where there was a clearing in the trees. I was about 10 to 15 miles from the city at this time. At that point, I could clearly see that there were 5 to 6 amber-colored lights, almost in a Z formation. I tried to take a picture with my cell phone camera, but the lights were too faint to show up. They appeared to be traveling southbound, and I could not tell at what altitude, as there was no perspective on what I was seeing. As they passed to the right of me, each light faded from the first to last, and I couldn't see them anymore. As I was looking, I noticed there was a cloud that was illuminated by the moon, so I kept watch until I spotted them again. They were no longer emitting any light, but I could see specks in contrast to the illuminated cloud. They were not connected in any way, and were independent of each other. After realizing what I had seen, and the close relationship with landing aircraft, I did contact the TSA office at Kind. They said that there had been no reports of anything that I was describing and that it would be noted.
Occurred, June 19, 2011, 23:38 location, Indianapolis, Indiana. Shape, light duration, 2 minutes. Characteristics. There were lights on the object. There was an aura or haze around the object. There were aircraft in the vicinity or aircraft chasing the object. 2 orange lights moving same speed, same direction in an offset trail formation. 3 people observed 2 orange lights rapidly going in the same direction heading north. These objects were fairly low to the ground and were also going at the same speed and direction. Objects were only one color but could not be determined whether or not a solid object. There was an aircraft, however, that was flying from the east to the west, heading toward the Indianapolis airport. The weather was partly cloudy and humid. The three witnesses were driving when they saw the objects. After picking up a friend, they drove back around. They were not there. At the stop sign the observers were. It was a perfect place to see where the objects had been.